By the way, this is not the first question that you ask. Let me wind back. The first question you ask them, so you need to do the NDA, right? But the first question you need to ask them is, and this is whether they come through a broker or whether it's direct. Why do you want to sell? Why are you asking this question? You're asking this question to find out if they're motivated. Remember, you can only deal with a motivated seller. A motivated seller will ensure that a deal gets to completion and that you get a good deal. Whether it's price and terms, whether it's price or terms, it doesn't matter. Only motivated sellers are going to give you that. So when you ask that question, you better be satisfied with the answer. Retirement, illness, divorce, migration, tax bill, bankruptcy. There's so many, for example, young women with young families. So for example, they have like 3 kids in a row and they're like 4 years old and below. That's a difficult situation for a mum if they're running a business at the same time. So, why are you selling the business? You have to just finding out the motivation. Now, the second thing I like to ask, so, we went to the finances because finances are important. That's actually the third question. So just put that as the third question. First question, why do you want to sell? Second question is, what's your role? Meaning, what do you do in the business? What is your role? What you're trying to understand is how many, because business owners generally, they're doing like 2.5 roles. Yeah, 2.5 roles, 1.5 roles. The owner operators, they're heavily involved in the business. You need to recruit like 2 people to replace them, 3 people to replace them if they go. So what you're trying to understand, how involved are they? And the worst thing is that if they're involved in the sales relationships, that's the worst. If they're involved in the sales of the business, the sales relationships, it's like, I hate it. I don't want to do those deals. And the second is if they're involved in the day-to-day management. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do deals. I've done deals where the owner was involved in the sales relationship and the day-to-day management, but they wanted to sell the business because they didn't want to do the business side of the business anymore, and they wanted to stay on as an employee, right? So that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But if they want to exit, and we do advise, by the way, that if you buy a business, exit the seller as soon as possible, right? 2-3 months max. Yeah, ideally on day one. But anyway, so sales relationships and day-to-day management are like the worst. If they're involved in the bookkeeping, no problem, you can replace that. If they're doing the admin, no problem, you can replace that. It's easy. Sales relationship and day-to-day management are the difficult ones to replace. So you're trying to find out what they're doing, how many days they're working. Are they there like 7 days a week? If they're there 7 days a week, they're the ones that are driving the business. When they leave, what happens to the business? Right? The third question you want to find out is about the management team. Do they have a management team? Right? If they do have a management team, good. What do they do? Now, I like the management team to be the day-to-day managers, and there's no sales relationships with the owner. If that's the case, that's my favorite situation. So I want to find out from the management team, is there a solid management team there already where the owner's not doing anything? Or is there a management team already where they can be promoted to a actual general manager and drive the business and continue to drive the business? I like the situation where the management team has been in place for at least 2 years. I'm also happy with 1 year, but I'm less happy with 1 year. If I see management team has been running the business for 2 years or more, then I'm very interested in that business as long as it meets all of the other criteria. So we recently took over a business in which the owner hadn't been involved for like 5 years. We wanted to take over a business where the owner hadn't been involved for 8 years. That was the best one. So if you can, and I've got a video on my channel about how Patrick Bet David, he increased the value of his company because initially they gave a really low offer because he was the one that was driving the business. When he replaced himself, and he had to hire 5 people to replace himself. 5 people, right? and then they double the valuation, they give them cash on completion. So that's why I like to see management team in place 2 years, ideally 2 years plus, I should say, 2 years plus, if not 1 year. Because what you're trying to see is that, what is this business going to look like post acquisition?